For All the Jural Assemblies Part 1 by Anna von Reitz. There seems to be a lot of confusion about the Jural Assemblies, so I am writing this down for all the State Jural Assemblies at once. Although State Jural Assemblies are unique and dedicated to their individual state, it is necessary for everyone to know basic definitions and oppositions and roles, so that everyone understands what they are doing and why. Jural Assemblies are the organizational units of land and soil jurisdiction courts. Jural Societies are the organizational units of sea and maritime jurisdiction courts. Jural Assemblies assemble. Jural Societies associate. Jural Assemblies create states and counties. Jural Societies create states and counties of blank. As you can now fully appreciate from this brief description, both are necessary in order to properly conduct business on both land and sea. States are geographically defined areas that are under the control of public laws established by the people who live within their borders. States are unincorporated land and soil jurisdiction entities run as unincorporated businesses. States have very simple names: Ohio, Rhode Island, Maine, Florida, Wisconsin, and so on. In America, these states are joined together in a union called a federation. The federation is also unincorporated and is called the United States of America. It was founded September 9, 1776. All these organizational forms are created by living people, howbeit, people acting in two profoundly different capacities, as people, and as persons, which are incorporated entities. People acting as people make up jural assemblies. People acting as persons make up jural societies. People acting in their unincorporated capacity as people who are members of a jural assembly decide the physical boundaries of their states, adopt the public laws within their states, and enforce the public law via their jural assemblies, their land and soil jurisdiction courts, and the officers of those courts. Jural assemblies organize the land and soil jurisdiction courts owed to the people of each state. Jural assembly organizers are responsible for the making sure that candidate members are eligible to serve. In most states, candidates must be at least 21, must have permanent homes declared within the geographic boundaries of their state, must be landowners even if the land owned is only their reclaimed good name and bodily estate, and at least until new elections are held within the assembly to change the 1860 conventions. The initial State Jural Assembly must be convened by white males meeting all other qualifications. This is because we are reopening courts that have been substantially, though not entirely, vacated since the Civil War. People of color and women may be welcomed by all jural assemblies, but an update election must occur to open membership to all adult members of the community, with this one exception, that women may serve as proxies for their husbands upon the husband's grant of his agency to his wife. This basically means that she may act for her husband with his written consent in all matters stipulated as part of his grant of authority. It is important to note that all people are part of the land and soil jurisdiction of their country, while persons are part of the sea and maritime jurisdiction. As a result, land and soil jurisdiction courts organized by jural assemblies are courts for people. Sea and maritime jurisdiction courts organized by jural societies are courts for unincorporated trade and incorporated commercial businesses, not people. Please also note that no jural assemblies can be incorporated. They operate exclusively as unincorporated businesses, and all their officers and their members are operating in unincorporated capacity, too. So, when you embark upon the adventure of creating a jural assembly, you must 1. Choose and declare that you are acting in your capacity as one of the people of this country. 2. You must record your choice with a land recording office, formally reconveying your trade name to the land and soil of your state. 3. You must accept the rights, responsibilities and duties of a state citizen when you act as a juror or in any other public office of the jural assembly. 4. You must meet the basic requirements and thereby establish standing to act in the capacity of one of the people of your state. Please note that land and soil are inextricably connected. Soil is defined as the first 6 inches, the very top layer, of the land, while land is all the underlying strata. I am often asked, why can't people of color and women organize the initial jural assembly? They just can't make up part of the quorum for a jural assembly until at least a minimum jury pool of originally qualified electors has been organized and has conducted an update election allowing membership to them. Again, this isn't anything arbitrary or racist or sexist. It is simply the fact that we are restoring a court system that hasn't been updated since 1860, and at that time, neither people of color nor women were allowed as part of the quorum. That's why an update election is needed. I am also often asked, why is it necessary to formally declare the capacity in which you are acting and also explicitly re-convey and claim your trade name? The short answer is that 1. You could get into trouble with federal territorial authorities, what I call federales, if you don't, and 2. Your trade name has already been shanghaied into the foreign jurisdiction of the sea, so it requires official recorded, never registered, action on your part to return to the land and soil jurisdiction, which is a fundamental requirement for you to form a jural assembly. Otherwise, all you could form would be a jural society. Once everyone has done their paperwork and established their bona fides as people born on the land and soil of one of the American states or to parents or a parent born on the land and soil of one of the American states so as to be an inheritor, this can go back 3 generations for those born in the unenrolled western states *, you are ready to begin. A jural assembly has offices. All of these offices are held in behalf of unincorporated business entities and are unincorporated offices. Those offices include the local town and county sheriffs entrusted with enforcement of the public law, the land jurisdiction state judges, properly called justices, and the soil jurisdiction county court justices known as justices of the peace. It also includes court clerks, recorders, bondsmen, deputies, public notaries and coroners. All of these offices are elected by members of the Jural Assembly who are the qualified jurors making up the jury pool from which all trial and grand juries are drawn by lot. The land jurisdiction state courts doing business simply as, for example, the Ohio State Court, enforce the public and organic laws of Ohio including the provisions of the Constitution for the United States of America. The local county courts also enforce these same laws, although there may be particular, even peculiar, local laws pertaining to soil and water and security issues of their soil jurisdiction. All land and soil jurisdiction courts operate under the provisions of American common law. We do not practice equity law, which is a hybrid of English common law and admiralty law. The land jurisdiction county sheriff is the highest-ranking law enforcement officer in each county. All sea jurisdiction LEOs and corporate security personnel, Pinkertons, and subcontractors, agency personnel report to your elected land jurisdiction county sheriff, not the other way around. Your Jural Assembly elections to fill the offices of the court are conducted as standard public elections, though all electors must meet the same eligibility requirements as the members of the Jural Assembly. That is, you can't cross over and vote in the private corporate elections of the Jural Societies, and they can't come over and vote in your public elections of the Jural Assemblies. The 2 jurisdictions are mutually self-exclusive, as one cannot be on the land and on the sea at the same time. Once your Jural Assembly jury pools are filled and your officers have been elected, your court is open for business, for your members only. As these are people courts, they deal only and exclusively with people business, issues of private property and assets, marriages, probate, and estates of people, rights of people, and so on. They can hear mixed jurisdiction cases in which people and unincorporated businesses have issues with other unincorporated or incorporated businesses, and jural assemblies can act as parties to cases. For example, People of Colorado versus Simon P. Jenkins and Sons, or People of Lords County v. IBM. These are, essentially, the equivalent of class action cases in the land jurisdiction courts of our states and counties. They don't hear any issues arising among incorporated, commercial entities. That is the business of the Jural Societies and their courts. It is important to understand from the outset that these 2 court systems arising from the 2 different kinds of jural organizations under discussion, there are others, are completely separate hierarchies. Many people have grown up with the assumption that their state and their county are still functioning, and yes, they are, but just by the skin of their teeth. The organizations that were at one point operating the land and soil jural assemblies have been largely displaced in many areas by private corporate courts operated by jural societies instead. That is largely the result of the great fraud perpetuated by FDR and by the desire of many persons, as opposed to people, to share in federal racketeering kickbacks such as federal block grants. Many auspices of our state and county and local government have been taken over via a surreptitious, secretive, and fraudulent undisclosed process of unlawful conversion, which takes place when a state or county organization is converted to operate as an incorporated, state-of-state franchise of any foreign territorial or municipal commercial corporation. No Jural Assembly, no actual state, no actual state court, no actual county, and no actual county court can be incorporated. Upon being incorporated, people become persons and the law of the land is converted to the law of the sea, and the courts are operated by Jural Societies under international law instead of being operated by Jural Assemblies under national and local law. If you think about it a moment, you will see how the process of incorporating everything has been used to promote a de facto takeover of our government and led to the rampant criminality with which we now contend. You can also see how important it is for each one of us to get off our duffs and do the work. Our unincorporated courts still stand over theirs and our people still stand over their persons, but we must do this work of self-governance or we will have no country and no justice left. We must awaken our sleeping friends, families, and neighbors and ring the alarm. We must organize our Jural Assemblies and operate our states and counties and re-enter all the offices that have been secretively vacated. Millions of us remain to be awakened and much work remains to be done, but there are now Jural Assemblies operating in every state of the Union. Find yours at www.national-assembly.net. Hit subscribe, like, share and get ready for many more Anna von Reitz videos.